President Putin has not engaged with the Secretary General since this war started. Why has he now agreed to meet with the Secretary General in Moscow? Is there an opening for a humanitarian ceasefire?
By war, you mean our special military operation, as far as I understand? Okay, so I don't remember that Secretary General asked for a meeting with President Putin before. So
I believe that he may have tried to speak with him on the phone.
Not to my knowledge, frankly, but I may be missing something.
So why has he agreed to meet with him now? Is there an opening for a humanitarian ceasefire?
Secretary General asked, President accepted. That's very simple. You ask, we accept. You don't ask, we don't accept.
Is it time for a ceasefire?
Sorry?
Is it time for a ceasefire?
I don't think so.
If the Secretary General asks for a ceasefire, will Russia comply?
I think he asked for Easter ceasefire, and Easter is over right now.
So you didn't comply with his call for an Easter truce.
What?
If he asks for a ceasefire when he goes to Moscow, will Russia comply and end its war?
We are not supposed to comply with the calls. People comply with the orders, but not with the calls. So there was a call for ceasefire, and we opened humanitarian corridors which are not being used by Ukraine, and Ukraine is also compromising our efforts to open these corridors. So we don't think that ceasefire is a good option right now, because the only advantage it will give possibility for Ukrainian forces to regroup and to stage more provocations like Bucha, like I called to you. So frankly, it's not up to me to decide, but I don't see any reasons in this right now. Everyone who wants to get evacuated, for example, from Mariupol, has the opportunity to do so because we opened humanitarian corridors. Today it was also opened. They claim that there are some civilians in this Azovstal, but they do not let them go. I don't see any logic in this.
Ambassador, Turkey has offered to serve as a guarantor. Is there any chance that Russia would accept that in terms of a ceasefire?
Frankly,
is there a role for the UN?
I am not aware of the details.
Is there a role for the UN in any ceasefire?
There is a role for everybody who really can convince Ukraine to adopt the decisions that will be for the benefit of this country. But there is not a role for anybody who would try to use ceasefires and other things to strengthen the positions of Ukrainian army and to stage more provocations, directly or indirectly.
And just to be clear, what you just said was you don't think it's a moment for a ceasefire.
It's not up to me to decide. I explained the reasoning. So we saw initiatives on ceasefire which resulted in 2 provocations in Bucha and Kramatorsk. So I don't see any reasons to believe in the sincerity of the other side anymore. But again, it's not up to me to decide. It's Ministry of Defense and Presidential Administration, of course.
Ambassador, could we get your reaction to some of the latest comments from the US Secretary of State, Antony Blinken? He has said that Russia has failed in the aims of its war. Do you agree with that? And could you perhaps remind us, what are the aims?
First of all, I'm not aware of any war that we wage. I'm aware of the special military operation.
The war that has happened in Ukraine for the last 2 months since you invaded the country, Ambassador.
It's not the war that we wage. It's the war that we're trying to stop, that has been there for 8 years. So I am not sure what Secretary Blinken
have you failed in your aims? And if so, could you please tell us, because you seem to have completely changed your strategy, what are your aims?
Our aims is, first of all, to spare as many civilians as we can. We said it from the very beginning. And since the nationalist battalions are using them for human shields, then of course we have to adapt our strategy, and we will not act as Americans in Raqqa and Mosul, as I said. We do not want to erase these cities from the surface of the earth.
And you've adapted your strategy because you've failed so badly militarily?
You mean we failed to kill as many people as Secretary Blinken would like us to kill?
Your attempt to take Kyiv seems to have failed miserably.
I don't get your logic.
Your strategy?
I don't think we failed, frankly. We conduct our military operation. It's not a war. It's a military operation. It has its own strategy. It has its own aims. It was never meant as a blitzkrieg. I don't know. It was something that Secretary Blinken maybe was imagining. And it's really very difficult to comment on Secretary Blinken's remarks because they are very contradictory.
On the possible use of chemical weapons in Ukraine, would Russia, if there is such an attack, would Russia agree to OPCW inspectors going in straight away to determine how an attack happened and who was responsible?
Frankly, if it depended on me, I don't have any credibility in OPCW after what happened in Syria and all these things. But in any case, we will document it, and I told you about the ampoules, and we need to see what was the substance that was used there. And we will, of course, share it with OPCW Secretariat. But OPCW Secretariat proved to be absolutely pro-Western and absolutely anti-Russia, anti-Syria, so I don't think it would be constructive engagement in any case. But I hope that there will be no chemical provocations. The more we make it vocal, the less chances are there to commit these provocations. If you saw the details, you would see that the rockets that hit residential buildings on Odessa were not launched by Russia. It was confirmed. They were from Ukrainian air defense, because Russia was striking absolutely another military targets with high precision weapons. So the Ukrainians fired and they missed the target, which happens unfortunately, and it resulted in the military infrastructure. It's not to my knowledge that we were striking something else in Odessa. Thank you.